Hi, this is Dawn from Crafty in Texas. Today we're going to smash this 12 by 12 papered pack from Echo Park. It's called Wedding Bliss. It has 16 pattern papers, some cut aparts, and a sticker sheet. So stay tuned. So I'm going to smash this pad by making 8 stationery sets. Each stationery set will have a holder envelope, 4 note cards with envelopes, and a bookmark. And I think I can get all 8 done with this paper. So I'm going to be starting with the envelopes first, the envelopes that hold the stationery set. I need 8 pieces of paper, and these are the 8 patterns that I chose to make the envelopes with. Okay, so to start on the envelope, the first thing that I want to do is I need to cut the piece a 6.5 by 12. So I'm going to make that first cut at 6.5, and I'm going to leave it at 12. Okay, this is going to be for the envelope. And then this sheet of paper will be set aside to be used in just a few minutes. Okay, so to start with my envelope, I need to make 2 score marks. The first score mark I need to make will be at the 2-inch mark. The second score mark I need to make is at the 7.5 score mark. So therefore you need those 2 there. The next thing I need to do is decide which one I want from the inside and the outside. I think I want the floral on the inside. I'm going to fold it and burnish it. To get it all ready. Next, I want to take my 1.5 circle punch, and I want to punch out just a tiny little piece in the front so it'll be easy to open. The next thing I need to do is take my corner rounder and round off the corner so it'll have a nice edge on the top. Okay, so off camera, I cut the rest of the envelopes out. I did the circle punch, I rounded the corners, and I have 8 total. There's one thing I need to do, and that is use a piece of scrap paper to seal the sides of the envelope, but we have to wait to do that. So let's set these aside for now, and we'll come back to those in just a minute. Okay, so going back to that sheet of paper that I cut the envelopes out of, this particular sheet of paper had the envelope that we cut, which was the 6.5 by 12. And then that second sheet of paper that we set aside, we're going to use it and cut it into 2 sections. 2 4.25 by 5.5 for card fronts. And then this top section we want to use for our bookmark. And that's what we're going to be working on now. Okay, so taking all of the pieces of paper that measure 3.5 by 5.5, we're going to take all of those pieces, we're going to score them directly in the middle, which is at the 1 3/4 mark, and then we can fold them in half. I'll do the rest off camera, and then I'll come back and show you the rest of the process. Okay, so I've scored each of these pieces of paper. I'm now going to fold them all in half. I'm going to take my corner rounder and I'm going to round the corners on the bottom. I'm going to take my tag hole punch and I'm going to cut the tag at the very beginning and then use my adhesive and glue each of them together so that there'll be one solid bookmark. So I'll go do the rest and then I'll be right back. Here are all the bookmarks that I've made. Now there's only 7 here, obviously, because I messed one up, but I will make a new one at the end. So we're finished with the bookmarks. We've gone as far as we can for here, so we're going to set them aside and get ready for the next project. All right, so now we're ready to work on the second stack of 8 papers, and this is how we need to cut it. We're going to cut this piece of paper at the 5.5 mark first. Okay, 5.5 mark. Now with the large piece of paper, we're going to set it aside. We're going to use that later on, but for now we cut it at 5.5, and now we're going to cut it at 4.25. These are for our card fronts. Another 4.25. Okay, And then we'll have a last piece, which is about 3.5, and we're gonna set it aside. So basically all we want are these two pieces that are 5.5 by 4.25, and we're gonna add it to our stack that we had from our other group of papers. Okay, so far, we should have a total of 32 of these, and I'm gonna check my math just to make sure, but I'm gonna go cut the rest of the paper and then I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so these are the cuts that we made. We made the first 4.25 by 5.5, the second 4.25 by 5.5, and this last section, which is the 3.5, and then the other side of the paper we're going to set aside. These are our card fronts. We need the other group of card fronts from the first set of 8 papers, and we're going to go ahead and adhere these to our card bases. Before I actually adhere the card fronts to the card bases, I'm going to go ahead and take my Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just going to distress or ink all of the edges, because this paper is kind of antique-y, and so I just think it'll look a lot better if the edges are inked. So I'm going to do that with all of these card bases before I actually, I'm going to do it with all these card fronts before I actually put them on the cards themselves. I finished getting the card fronts to the bases. Now I have these 32 cards all ready to go. All right, so I'm going to set these aside. And now I want to cut down this large piece of paper. This large piece of paper that we had from that second group of paper. This is the 6.5. And so how I want to cut it down is I'm going to make 2 cuts at the 3.25 mark. And then I'm going to take this piece and cut it directly in half at the 3.25 mark. And then I'm going to have this 1-inch space on each one of these that I'm going to set aside and use for embellishments a little later. So let's go ahead and get this cut. So again, this is the leftover large piece that we had from earlier. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to cut my 3.25 mark. And then I'm going to cut another 3.25. And on this one, I'm going to cut it in half at 3.25. So now what I need to do is take these 2 pieces and cut off 1 inch. Just cut off 1 inch of there. Now, they're all the same size. Okay. So for this, I have 4 pieces that are 3.25 by 5.5, and then I'm going to have these 2 1-inch sections of paper. And so we're going to set these aside here so that we can use for embellishments. Okay, let's grab our envelopes and finish the last thing we need to do on our envelopes before we can decorate them. Grab 8 pieces of paper that are 3.5 by 5.5 and get those ready. What we need to do is we need to take these pieces and we need to cut them in half at the 3.25 mark. And then you also need to cut this edge at 4 inches so that you will end up with 2 pieces. And then what we do is we're gonna fold these in half, and you can probably use the scoring board for this. You fold each of these pieces, and then we glue them to each side of the envelope, and then you glue it on this side. So when we open the envelope, you have a little opening. It's a little pocket. So I'm going to go do that real quick and I'll show you exactly what that is. Actually, I probably should just do it on camera. So let me do that. Grab my cutter. Okay, so first thing I need to do is I want to cut these in half, which is 1.25, both here. And then each of these need to be at the 4-inch mark. That piece was just a little larger, but it doesn't matter. And then from here, I'm going to need to put these, fold these in half. I actually want to do it on that side, just like this. And the other one. Use my little foam folder to reinforce that. And I'm going to take some adhesive and I'm going to put it on one side, line it up at the edge, right on the edge, and do the same thing to the other side, making sure that the opening is facing on the inside of the envelope. Okay, and then I'm going to apply some adhesive on both of these sides. Close the envelope like this. And now I have created a pocket so that the stationery cards will fit in perfectly in here. So we're gonna have 4 cards that go in here along with a bookmark, and then we'll decorate it really pretty. And that's the stationery set. So what we need to do is finish these envelopes. So I'm gonna go do that off camera, and then that process will be completely finished. So the envelopes are all done and ready to be decorated. Okay, I'm ready to decorate all of the pieces. I pulled some black stationery cardstock, that is some scrap paper. Here's the sticker sheet I can choose from. I also went through my stash and I pulled ribbon, and then I pulled several stamps and I made large butterflies, small butterflies. I made sure that I stamped them in many different colors. I found a cute little heart stamp and some small flowers. I have several different leaves that I've chosen to use. Of course, I have all the little scrap pieces of paper that we have left over from cutting all of our pieces. And I think I'm going to start with the bookmark. I have 8 bookmarks that I need to decorate. So I've pulled several different pieces that I can begin to build these decorations for the bookmark. And I think what I'm going to do is just let the music play so you can watch me decorate these too. And then when I'm finished, I will show you all 8. Okay, I'm all finished. Here are the 8 bookmarks that I made that go with the stationery set. And again, each bookmark or one bookmark goes for each stationery set. And I think they turned out pretty cute. I might need to tweak them just a little bit. I'll make sure that I have enough gems and everything, but that's it. So now let's move on to the card fronts. I need to take the leftover pieces that I had that were 3.5 by 5.5, and I need to cut them down so that some will scan or some will sit horizontal and then some will sit vertical on the cards. And basically I just divide them up between 8 and 8. 8 pieces will go horizontally and the other 8 pieces will go vertically, and they will go on the card front. So I'm going to cut those down and adhere those to the cards. Now I'm ready to start decorating all of the card fronts. So I'm going to let the process play for just a little bit, and then I'll come back and show you all the cards when they're finished. So I finished all 32 cards. I tried to make them all cohesive, but different at the same time. So I'm going to lay them all out and you can take a peek at the finished cards. So I decorated the envelopes off camera because basically it's the exact same process that I just did for the cards and the bookmarks, and they are ready to go. The next thing I need to do is gather all the pieces and divide 4 cards and a bookmark for each envelope. So this is how they look when they're all finished. Each stationery envelope has 4 note cards and 4 envelopes, and then a matching bookmark that I just slip inside. The next thing I need to do is just go ahead and add the little Velcro closure. And they're super, super sticky, so I don't have to use any adhesive or any hot glue. And I'm just going to stick them to the envelope and then they can close. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you so much for staying for the end. I'm so happy that I smashed this entire 12 by 12 paper stack. I've had it for a long time and I'm really happy with the projects that I made. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.